It's good to see you. You know what I'm saying? It's been a minute.
Been a minute. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right. What's good, everybody? It's your boy Shane Black, back with another video, back with another banger, but you're gonna learn something too. Today, I have a good friend of mine. Really want to invite him in and have his perspective on a few different topics. It's my good friend, ex-co-worker. His name is Brian. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Yo, my name is Brian. As you can see, I am blessed with melanin. So, you know, that's a thing. It's a whole nother thing in itself. A bit of background. Well, before I start, let me send a shout out to my pops. Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to all the fathers.
Miss you, love you. Hope everything's doing well on the East Coast. Yeah. As far as myself, background, he already introduced me. I originally from the East Coast. I ended up on the West Coast after doing a stint in the military, bouncing around the world a little bit. Learned a lot. Had a good time. Here I am.
Okay, for sure, for sure. Well, where I met you was we were working with special needs children in the school districts.
Yes.
It was a good experience, and with that, we both learned a lot because I was new to it, and I know you probably been around it. You have kids?
I do have kids, but I will say that I had experience in that industry or in that arena dealing with kids with special needs prior to, but that where I met you was the first time I actually worked in that industry, specifically in that discipline. Yeah, it was definitely an eye-opening experience. There's a lot going on.
Definitely from that job it was. But we want to talk about education.
Yeah.
And today's form of education. Could you let me know how you feel about it with your experience in being a father, a black father at that?
Definitely. I think I'll start first with just education in general, knowledge in general. Unfortunately, I think we, you know, yourself, myself, as well as my kids, growing up in a society where the history of this country, of this world in general, is largely, you know, kind of hidden from us. There's so much about our history that was repurposed and reworked to paint white people in the least negative of light and paint people of color in the most negative light. And unfortunately, generation after generation, it's done nothing but raise people of color that don't understand their origins, don't understand where their happiness should come from, and don't understand the power within themselves, because we live in a society where we have been taught that if you are of color, then there's something negative about you, or there's something to put you down, or something that diminishes your value. And unfortunately, you take that with systemic racism, and it kind of all plays into each other, and then you got people of color in a situation that
we're seeing today, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's backfiring, but I think now is the time where we have to, as you know, our people, our culture, have to fight back. We did a lot of talking back in the 60s and the 70s and the Black Panthers, and like now I think that, you know, this generation, like you said, they don't care. They got a short temper. They want to get to it. They want action. They want to do it now. So I feel for them, and I feel for that generation. Now, as far as education with the school districts, how do you feel like that's turning, you know, the next high schoolers to college students to working professionals? It's not changing. It's not turning and developing those children into working, well-rounded adults. They might end up being able to hold a job in a society that only wants them to hold a job, doesn't want them to succeed in any other regard besides being a cog in the wheel to make sure that the money keeps turning. The education system in general just lacks a foundation that we can all play on the same playing field. We can't play on the same playing field because we don't know our real history. We don't understand our real history. The aspects of it that we are taught do nothing but continually divide us as we grow and develop into adults. We don't really truly understand where we're coming from or where we're going because we don't have a true understanding of our foundation, our origins. So for me, the most important thing in education right now that needs to change and is desperate need to change is
to change the narrative, to change the understanding or the false belief or the false narrative that white is right and black is wrong. There's so many contributions to this nation and to the world in general that people of color have made that are diminished and put aside from a standpoint that we don't have an identity, we don't have any true understanding of ourselves, so it's hard to identify with one group or one entity or to identify with an understanding when our understanding isn't completely true. Our understanding isn't completely honest and well-rounded. I think the first thing that needs to change in education is history. We need to have a true, accountable understanding of our history that doesn't paint anybody in one light or the other, but just tells the truth.
Now, that's one thing I was going to get to you at. I was like, do you think we need to change the history classes? Because I know when I went to school, history books were like this, and it was so much of this of our people.
Exactly.
And now I'm looking at history books, they're like this. And
exactly.
I can only imagine how much of our culture, our background, our history is being told in these books. Now, when I went to college, we had focused history classes, African American, and we have indigenous history classes, and we have other kind of classes where they focus on specific types of, what their background, their culture, their history is. But do you think that's something like now we have to pay for? Like as an adult, we have to pay to learn our history?
Exactly. See that right there. Foundationally, the structure of education is just wrong. We covet information and only peddle it out when it benefits us or when it benefits the powers that be, and everybody else just has to deal with it and kind of play catch up constantly. I genuinely think that there has to be a foundational, from the foundation up there, the education system is just, honestly, it's from what I can see, and this is being a person that grew up in the education system, a person that went to college, and being a person of color, I didn't learn anything that I know now and that I can truly take solace in and understand and gain some true development in my own personal spirit and my own personal understanding of the world around me. I didn't learn that until I got outside of McGraw-Hill books, and the standard packaged I call it big box education. They kind of give you this and tell you this is what it is, and they shovel packages of it to you. And if you want to learn more, pay us some money on our pay those student loans, and we'll teach you some more about a history that you had nothing to do with, or that you aren't worth a damn, or that you're not.
You had something to do with, but they're not going to acknowledge you for it.
They won't acknowledge that, and unfortunately, we as a people can't grow and develop completely and unite as one if we don't even understand the origins of us. And unfortunately, I think that that's purposely neglected and diminished. In general, history itself, we're going to have to actually get on the same page about what version of history is
do they want to be taught.
Exactly. What do they want to teach? What don't they want to teach, and why? The reality of it is education shouldn't be about segregating what should be taught and what shouldn't be taught.
Or putting a price on what should be taught.
All knowledge is valuable and is key to our existence. So to diminish it or to kind of push aside a portion of it or to outright lie about it and change it does nothing but is a slap in the face of the people that built this country. If it wasn't sugarcane, it was cotton. We went somewhere to help somebody do something. And when they didn't have enough bodies, guess what? They got the Asians to help build the railroad. Don't even get me started on the indigenous peoples of this world. A lot of people don't realize that indigenous peoples of the Americas were many colors. There are people of color here well before the first slave ships got here. Christopher Columbus somebody that they painted in history to look a certain
that's
way.
What we learned about growing up.
But unfortunately,
years later we find out
he was, all Christopher Columbus did was bring disease and a lot of other things over to this area of the world that wasn't necessary, that we had no understanding of, that ultimately wiped us out for the most part. When you look at the way the Declaration of Independence is written and the wording they choose.
You got a fine comb.
I think a lot of people that I come in contact with today that graduated high school and feel as though they have some understanding of themselves, when you tell them something like, hey, you know, the KKK was founded the Democratic Party, and then they go, oh, well, that's conspiracy, that's this, blah, 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 like you don't know what you're talking about.
It's all on how you've been painted.
Yeah, is it that I don't know what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Or is it that you haven't been taught that and you've been brainwashed your whole life to believe other than that? So therefore, it's so foreign to you, you're going to reject it.
Right.
Unfortunately, most of history that we were taught you should reject because it's wrong. It was purposely purported towards you to kind of benefit the powers that be, not to educate you or develop you in any regard. And that's the point that I want people to understand, is that you're putting your child or your son or daughter in school every day, all day, and they're doing nothing but getting brainwashed into a society that technically doesn't want them. Doesn't need them. I think you heard me say it before. The three things that I always try to talk to people about, and like the three realities that I live my life by, is that one, America loves the black dollar. It needs the black dollar. Two, America loves the black vote, needs the black vote.
They need the black vote.
Three, and the most important one, is America doesn't love black people. And it isn't about, I'm not singling out one individual or one individual group. I'm singling out the idea, the ideology that
of the black,
that this country was founded upon, and how they differentiate people of color, and how they kind of delineate them. You don't really know where you're coming from because you've been told one thing in this book and another thing in that book, and if you start doing your own research, none of that stuff matches up. I just wish that we would have some true understanding of the origins of history, not just what was recorded or what was written. Gain some perspective behind the people that wrote history, the people that own the big publishing houses, that own the rights to the school books that your kids are learning out of. They are wrong, and I wish that I had all my resources and all my notes styled up right here so that I could go back and forth.
Right, no.
Because I'm sure people are going to come for me.
They're going to, no. Now that's what I'm saying.
But I just want you to do that research so that you realize, well, you know what? There's so much inconsistency here that it isn't real, it isn't right. Why should I send my kid to school for the first formidable years of his or her life when they're developing and growing at such an exponential rate, to learn nothing but garbage and learn something that not only are they going to have to test on, but something that's completely against who they are deep down inside. Like they don't know their history, but the history that that's being pushed on them doesn't paint them in a positive light. So why would they grow up having a positive light about the world around them or the America around them? They don't care. Why would they care when it's blatantly thrown in their face that this world doesn't care about them and thinks less of them?
Okay.
That's the one thing that needs to change in education.
Well, thank you for telling me that. I just want to make sure, if you want to reach this man, shout out your Twitter, shout out your IG.
Yo, I'm kind of analog in the digital world, so I don't have a Twitter. I got an IG just so I could kind of keep an eye on my daughters. My IG is Sirius1, and that's like the planet Sirius, or the broadcast station Sirius. It's Sirius with the number 1, and you can find me there. The only thing I would say is that because I don't post a lot of stuff on my IG in that regard, I'm just kind of getting into this whole digital age in a new, from a new standpoint. It's a lot of good stuff.
A lot of good information.
I just hope you guys.
A lot of good information from this man right here. But I mean, we can go on forever and ever. But I'm sure we will. I have other videos coming up with this man, and you already know where to reach me. I am Shane Black on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Get at him.
Subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.